Director of Ceremonies, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, Chapter 3 of the National Agriculture Policy promotes continental trade, competitiveness of Namibia's primary and processed agriculture products in the domestic and export markets, and the competitive sourcing of production inputs for primary agriculture and processed agriculture products. That's the starting point. There are 4 stated policy position is in recognition that agriculture trade helps to mitigate possible domestic food supply shortages that could be occasioned by, we are aware of recurrent droughts in Namibia, the pest outbreaks, diseases outbreak. As we sit right now, we have the CBPP, or land sickness in short, in the north. So this is where we are. Similarly, competitive sourcing of agriculture production inputs through trade presents an opportunity to increase primary agriculture production and value through agro-processing, agro-industry activities, and expand agriculture value chains in the domestic market. Now, export trade would contribute the necessary foreign currency earnings and improve balance payments. Ultimately, trade contributes to the prosperity of farmers, industries, and consumers in the country. In recent years, global agriculture markets faced an increased volatility, directly impacting stakeholders of the food systems and food chains inclusive. Now, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is conceived with a high level of ambition for opening up trade between African Union member states through tariff reduction, rules of origin that promote investments and the development of regional value chain and reduction of technical barriers to intra-continental trade. Namibia is prone to adverse impact of climate change, including, as I mentioned earlier, issues of droughts, floods, pest outbreaks. You may recall the recent locust outbreaks, if I may give an example. And of course, disease, as I earlier alluded to. The Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is expected to mitigate such negative impacts. It is further expected to create business opportunities for creative Namibians to engage in accumulation and value addition activities, agriculture value chains across the continent, considering the various competitive advantages. Namibia is a net exporter of livestock, meat products, table grapes, but also a net import of crops, including grains and most horticultural produce. Agriculture exports, particularly meat and table grapes, constitute an important part of Namibia's trade portfolio, which take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement market opening. Now, Namibia trade with the rest of the world in agro-produce is expected to increase, which will have a positive yield on the country's gross domestic product, or the GDP. Now, the fifth National Development Plan identifies agriculture as one of the priority sectors of the Namibian economy with significant growth potential. The agriculture sector remains central to the lives of the majority of Namibian population. Directly or indirect, it supports over 70% of the country's livelihoods, and that's huge. That's a huge percentage. Government, through the Namibia Agronomic Board, NAB, promotes local horticulture producers through the market share promotion of MSP scheme. Now, the market share promotion is a permit system that requires traders to locally source 47.5% of their annual horticulture requirements in order to obtain import permit for their horticultural produce. This government intervention has shown that Namibia is able to produce enough fresh produce which can be able to supply the local market and the rest to be exported to earn foreign currency. I would note to say it is one thing to be able to produce, but the key question is, at what cost? Now, most of our crop production is done at very high costs. Most of our agricultural production inputs, for instance, seeds, fertilizer, chemicals, just to mention a few, are imported at exorbitant costs. However, new developments such as possible local production of cheap ammonia and bulk desalination of seawater as part of green hydrogen initiative will potentially improve the competitiveness of Namibia's agriculture produce. Madam Director of Ceremonies, allow me, I'm drawing to the end, but this is very critical. Allow me to proceed, ladies and gentlemen. Regional integration under the AfCFTA will enable Namibia to benefit from transfer of technologies and skills to optimize agricultural production and agro-processing, thereby overcoming challenges of water scarcity, poor soils, and low productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, it is also very, very important to highlight that the AfCFTA has also an inbuilt safeguards for sensitive products and industries, which have been either excluded from liberalization commitments or are to be liberalized over long periods of time. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Director of Ceremony, analysis of the AfCFTA has shown that AfCFTA can bring the following benefits to member states. Number one, increase in foreign direct investment to take advantage of business opportunities and the large integrated AfCFTA market. Number two, employment creation and skills development. That is better quality jobs with women, and I put here youth, being the biggest wage gains. Number three, opportunities for local companies to build and or join regional and global value chains. Government has done its part in opening up the African continent market, and the onus is now essentially on the captains of industry such as us to take advantage and take really maximum advantage of the business opportunities and contribute to economic growth and development. I thank you.